Not hearing anything.
They're testing things on their end. They'll be back. Nope.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is really true, is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smart ass than a dumbass. Because, guys, 33 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 33 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smart ass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. I'm saying all that to say this. There are so many people out there still struggling. I'm here to help you. I want everyone to know someone is listening. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm also a recovery coach. All my services to you are free. Please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, because I sure do, you can go right to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, BAM, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to my website, www.geripetito.com. And listen, if you truly, truly, truly can't afford my book, please, please reach out to me about that as well. Before I introduce my incredible guests, I want to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors. Guys, I've got Stormin Norman Selden, 732-245-4777, www.storminnormanselden.com, booking dozens of attractions for concerts and performances on venues of all sizes. He's got from a 5 to 12-piece band, and this guy started on the Steinway pianos. And he was here live in studio a few weeks ago, and he's a monster on the keyboards. A lot of people don't know this, but he helped get Larry Chance from the Earls back in the day started. Larry was family to me, and I just want to say we all love you and miss you, Larry. Rest in peace, sir. Then we've got Ken Ryan and Linda Garofolo, The Way It Used to Be, singing songs from the 50s to the 80s, a tribute show to the greatest music and voices of all time. And he also does Elvis for me, guys. That's right. Ken and Linda are two beautiful people. They do a ton of fundraisers. And then, last but not least today, we've got, well, actually, I'm gonna do two more. John Bishop, a.k.a. Johnny B., singer and songwriter, host of the Entertainment Luncheon South, a nonprofit network created for the creative. And also partner in the Joey D. and Johnny B. Rockin' Oldies Band. Last but certainly not least today, Paula Ann from Ablaze Entertainment and Freedom Rings Festival, helping survivors of human trafficking to live a life of normalcy. The Geri Petito Show is also one of her sponsors, www.freedomringsfestival.com. So guys, I've got an incredible, incredible guest here. There's not anyone, I don't think, in the world that doesn't know who this man is. So everybody, Patch Adams. And I want to say hello and thank you to his assistant today, Derek. How are you guys doing?
Fabulous.
Best day of our lives.
So, you know, Patch, everyone knows the movie that Robin Williams starred in. Let's start there and go backwards, okay? Tell everyone about that movie, what inspired you. I know, but it's an amazing story. So tell everyone a little bit about what inspired you and how you got Robin Williams to star in it.
Well, I've been a free physician for almost 53 years in a country where your medical bill is the number one reason you lose your home. I like a 3 to 4 hour initial interview. because I really want to get to know and create a relationship with the person. And 80% of promised donations never happen. And I have never lost heart for the importance of building our free hospital. And so that's pretty much why I'm on this show, hoping that somebody will hear and make a donation.
So tell us how you got Robin Williams to star in it.
Well, I like him.
But what made him say yes?
Well, you'd have to ask him.
Oh, come on. I think you know. You've had conversations with him.
Well, I don't know that I ever asked him why he took the job.
Okay.
I think he's not a dummy. I think he had respect for me and maybe even secretly knowing that he is well known and well loved, that maybe him starring me could help me get our hospital built.
Right. I think I agree with that. So rest in peace to Robin Williams. So first of all, the movie was amazing, incredible, and it brought light to so many people. Because of course we didn't know what was really going on back then with the healthcare and all that. So you did a great job with that. I'm a nutritional health coach, and I've traveled all over the world through Lenox Hill Hospital back in the day, to Russia, to China, everywhere. I actually had machine guns pointed at me in both those places. And then recently I even went to all the walls, the illegal borders and all that in Yuma, Arizona, to cover stories there with Hamilton Radio. But, what you did was off the charts. I mean, everybody that I told that I was going to be interviewing you, they all got teared up. So tell us a little bit about your journey back in the day, like going into the hospitals, dressing up as clowns, and trying to do what you did for the children.
Well, I was born in 1945, raised in a military family, and had a science aptitude. And I love people, so I thought that I would become a doctor, and graduated in 1971. I never liked your medical bill was the number one reason you lost your home. I never liked that brand of medicine. So I've never charged money. And instead of a 6 to 8 minute interview, I like a 3 to 4 hour initial interview. I like to know the person I'm talking with.
So are you a doctor wearing clown clothes? Can you say more on that?
Well, men's clothes are boring, and I've never really liked them. And early on, and before I graduated from medical school, I started to wear colorful clothes and have a colorful life.
So I love your colorful shirt today. So pink and purple and turquoise are my favorite colors, and I do cartoon T-shirts of my logos. And my outside of my house years ago, my dad was a painter and brought his crew over. He used to want to kill me. My outside of my house was hot pink, purple, and turquoise. Then I changed it a few years later to bright yellow and white, okay? So I love color, and I think you look amazing.
Thank you.
People need color in their life, right?
Yeah.
They need action, and that's called color.
Yes. So Derek, tell us
Yes.
a little bit about your role with this gentleman.
I began working with Patch in 2013.
Okay.
I started out as a personal assistant, and I slowly took over other roles in the organization. So I look after the books, and I help with social media, and I help with the website. Of course, I'm not a one-man show. I help other people do all these things, as well as help Patch still.
Okay. So let's give a shout out to Mark Enslin, okay, and also to Terry Sterling for this introduction. So hello to both of them. So now, Patch, when you opened up your institute, how long ago do you remember the year?
1971, when I graduated from medical school.
Okay. And how long did you keep it going?
Well, there are ways that I've kept it growing until now.
Okay.
Saw patients about 18 or 19 years and then realized we had to have a hospital. And so I knew it was more important to show a hospital model that we were building than it was to be seeing patients.
How many doctors would work a side job in order to see patients?
I don't know. I haven't done a poll.
Because they weren't charging the patient,
Correct.
so they had to work side jobs. Imagine that. They're heroes. How many
It's
people?
not my style to think of myself as a hero. I love people. I think medicine should be a gift to people.
Yes.
That people are complicated, especially living in a world that is not ideal.
And heroes put people on a pedestal. And what we want to say is that you can do it too. You can chase whatever dream you have.
Okay, so, all right. I want to read a poem out of my book based on what you just said. Okay? Because I wrote a poem talking about this. I wrote a poem called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. Because I want everyone out there to know they all have something to offer. But they have to figure out what that is and do it. And it's not just about ourselves, right? So let me read this poem real quick, and then we'll talk more about what you just said, young man. Utilizing gifts and talents. We are born with talents. We are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. I knew early on I was born to draw and paint, to also write poetry and to talk without restraint. Our gifts and talents should all be used. God's gift to us, not be abused. We can go far in life for sure, using our gifts to go on tour. All our talents should be used to create ourselves and more, but then our job's to share them, to even up the score. You see, in life, what's needed is not just for ourselves. Once our gifts are mastered, take them off the shelves. A living we can make by spreading them around, not just for the money, but to spread a peaceful sound. So don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy. Never hold them back or you will surely die. Maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. Be proud of who you are. Be happy you're alive. Once again, my friend, your gifts will help you thrive. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, your name, Patch Adams, baby, will live forever, forever and a day. So go through life excited for what you sure can give to yourself and others is our reason to live. Our grave will be quite lonely, but your legacy lives on. So make sure people smile with the breaking dawn. And I'm here to tell you that as humble as you want to be about all this, and that's beautiful, you are a hero. What you have done for the average person who couldn't even afford health care, who couldn't afford having their needs met, and who needed help, you are a hero. So I'm glad that you love people and you wanted to help people. And so are all these people that you've helped.
Well, that's the way my mother was.
That's beautiful. Tell us about your mom.
Anna Campbell Stewart Hunter Adams was her 5-digit name. And she grew up in Virginia from an old Virginia family and then married my father, who was a Massachusetts man who was a lot more formal than my mom, and she was totally loving to him and to her children.
So that's where you get it from.
Well, that certainly was a major part of it.
Yes. So I want
She
to.
didn't tell me to do it.
She didn't tell you to do it.
She just was.
Yes. Yes, that's beautiful. So let me ask you something now. All the children that you've entertained with your clown outfits and your nose and your all that great stuff, You got a lot of smiles, didn't you?
Well, to all ages.
To all ages. Okay. So even the adults, I'm sure, would giggle and smile because we love that, you know? I mean, if a clown came up to me out of nowhere and just started, I would crack up laughing and like be like, "Hey, that was really cool. Thank you." You know, we all need to laugh and smile, right?
It's a good idea.
Yes.
And it's a special sort of person to walk toward suffering rather than run away.
That's right. So, Derek, how's your relationship with this guy? Tell us a little bit about your friendship, not so much your work ethic, because you guys have been together a while.
We have been together a while. Shortly after I started, I moved across the street, so we're also neighbors.
Oh, okay, very cool.
And let's see. And we, sometimes we have dinners together. Sometimes we watch movies. Patch loves to watch Charlie Chaplin,
Oh, okay.
Buster Keaton, and some Jerry Lewis. I'm sorry, the name was on the tip of
Oh,
my
Jerry
tongue.
Lewis, of course. Come on. Right?
Oh, and yes, of course, can't forget Monty Python.
Okay.
But yeah, Patch's home is like a second home to me. As you see, we are currently not at the hospital. We are currently in Champaign, Illinois, because years ago, Patch fell in love with this wonderful Italian lady, and after decades apart, he decided to move in,
Okay.
and here we are.
And we're also here because the hospital is not built.
The hospital is not what?
It's not built. We used our communal home as a hospital for a number of years,
Gotcha.
but all this time, 52 years, have dreamed of having a 40-bed free hospital.
Okay. So, how can people, if they want to donate, give us some information? Maybe Derek, you want to do it, or you, Patch. But how can people do this?
Well, perhaps the easiest way is to go on our website, patchadams.org/donate. We have a big donate button on our website. And, or if you prefer, mail a check. Patch loves receiving mail. Even if you don't mail a check, send Patch a letter. He loves reading letters.
Okay.
His P.O. Box is P.O. Box 307, Urbana, Illinois, 61803. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. My email is derek@patchadams.org. That is DEREK@patchadams.org. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone who does.
That's very cool. So now, Patch, all these years working with all these people, so give me an idea from youngest to oldest, the people you've worked with and tried to help.
Well, newborn to in the mid-90s.
So newborn, tell me about that.
Well, you get babies come when a man gets a woman pregnant.
Yes.
And we grew up in the era of home births, so that was encouraged. And it was really important for me to discuss with the parents how they were getting along and what the child needed and these sorts of things. You can't demand it. You can only try to influence it.
Wow, okay. And then in between, all in between, up to adulthood, without, of course, I don't need names or any of that, but can you think of one case where, like, it really struck your heart and all that, like something, one case?
Well, there are a huge number of cases. I mean, traditionally, one interviews a patient for 6 to 8 minutes. I like 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
So I automatically really care to know about who the patient is and what their background is. And I love to have them in my home playing and eating meals with us and and seeing how they work with others and that sort of thing,
Okay.
because that affects how they are healthy.
You're right
One-
about that. What, Derek?
One of the strongest stories that Pash has been telling the past 5 years is the moment he visited a hospital in Central America. Whenever he visits a hospital or homeless shelter or even prisons and mental wards, we go all over. We don't just town with children. We want to go where the suffering is
Okay.
and try to bring a community together to help care for this person who is suffering. Often it is children. Often, actually, it's more the parents that need the help because the child is the one experiencing it. However, the parents have to watch and see what's going on, often helpless. The story I want to bring up is one in which Patch entered a room and the little girl in there was vacant eyes, just kind of staring forward. And Patch sat down next to her and chatted and tried to get an engagement. And for a half hour, the girl just stared forward. And then Patch just gently lifted the kid's nose and kind of touched his nose, and slowly the child started touching his face and touching his arms. And Patch was, thinking this is typical how he would interact with a patient, try to get them to open up. And the session lasted, it was supposed to last a half hour, but it lasted a good 90 minutes of this child just kind of slowly getting used to playing again with Patch. And then when the session was over, Patch left the room. And when he left, he was surrounded by doctors who were shocked because this girl was so unwell that she was refusing to eat.
Okay.
And they were going to have to start forcing her to eat. That's the point where they were at. And the fact that she was able to reach out and interact with Patch showed that there is something, still a spark of life, in that girl looking to reach out. 2 years after this event, we received a postcard from them letting us know that this little girl is doing very well now
Oh,
and
wow.
returned to her village.
Oh, wow.
And it was all smiles. It was like she was a different girl.
Because someone took the time.
Exactly. Patch likes to say that an interview is, 4 minutes or so?
Well, 4 to 6,
Yeah.
4 to 8 minutes.
4 to 8 minutes. You walk into your doctor does the checklist, and then signs you a script and hands it to you. How often do you get to just sit with your doctor and not just talk about what immediate symptoms you have, but what you're thinking, or even if you have a crisis of faith that you want to work through with the doctor? How many would take the time for that?
I agree with you 100%. I do a lot of coaching for families, recovery coaching and all that. And the stories that I hear is just heartbreaking. And, bullying, okay? What people don't understand is that bully is being bullied at home. That bully needs help. The bully probably needs more help than the person being bullied. It's so heartbreaking. And that's what people are not understanding. A child doesn't just decide I'm going to be mean to that child because I want to be mean. That's not the case. What's going on in the home is. And I just wish we could fix this somehow and figure out a way to help these children, all of them.
Violence is often a learned thing. We are working toward a world where one would have to look into a dictionary and disbelieve that we would ever use the word war.
Right. Right.
My first step for the solution is I'd put women in charge of everything in the world.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Well, men cause almost all the problems. They're the largest collection of arrogance, of bossiness, of I'm the boss. And a lot of times, in order to get along with their partner at all, they have to kiss up to them, and instead of be equal with them. And so I say 85% of the problems in the world are caused by men.
Well, you're the only man that I've ever heard honestly say that, and with truth and honesty. Men don't like to admit that. And I'm not saying there's not women out there that are trouble. There are. But of course I have to agree with you. Especially with all, like I said, when I counsel these families, a lot of it comes from the men. There have been cases, of course, where the women, but most of it comes from the men. And it's just sad. And, I just wish more people had the mindset that you have to do your best to try to help these families and these people and these children and even adults. What advice,
What the
Pat?
hell is the doctor for?
Well, today, you know the answer to this as well as I do because I've worked, like I said, I went on medical tours even through Lenox Hill Hospital. And let me tell you what I've learned over the years, and you know this better than me. Money. That's all it's about anymore, is money.
It's
And-
never been about money to me,
Right. Obviously, yep.
except trying to build our hospital.
Yes.
You often say greed.
Yes, that's what I mean. They care more about the money than the patient. You don't. That's obvious with what you've done.
I like having fun with people.
Well, let me see your smile. Smile. There you go. So let's talk a little bit about the clowns. All right? So when you were young as a child, did you like clowns?
Well, I don't know if you know, tell people I'm a clown who is a doctor, not a doctor who is a clown.
Okay.
I love the freedom that clowns had, both in the clothes they wore and in the misbehavior they could do with, well, let's call them staid results.
Okay.
And to tie back,
Adults.
to what you said earlier, Hatch likes to say that bullies won't hit a fool. That is one of his one way he stood up to bullies in school was he played the fool.
Wow. Were you bullied as a child?
Well, sure. I mean, I think bullies indiscriminately bully people.
Yep.
And I joke with people.
Whereas most boys in his school would go toward athletics, he pursued academia. And so that kind of, encouraged athletics.
Right. Of course. Of course. But what's funny about all that? I've reconnected with so many people from high school, and it all because of Facebook. If Facebook is used for good, it could be incredible. So I only use it for good. And I graduated high school in 1979, and over the last, say, 15 years, we've reconnected with so many people, and unfortunately, so many people are gone. But a lot of the bullies I got to talk to. I got something at 10 years old in New York. I grew up in Long Island City, New York, called a juvenile delinquent card, a JD card. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Patch. But
No.
back then in New York, if you were bad, you got a JD card. And I got one, and guess what the judge did when he handed it to my father? He winked at me because I used to try to beat up the bullies that were bullying people. And I used to get beat up all the time because they were so much bigger than me, and I didn't care. And I would say, okay, God, I'm going to get killed today, but I'm going to get one shot in. That person was bad. I was 10 years old. But I'm bringing that up to say this. I've gotten to talk to a lot of those bullies today. And a lot of them said, Jarrett, we were so bullied at home. Some parents would put their hands over the gas fire grill, the stove, if they were bad. I mean, it was really, we didn't know back then this stuff went on. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them also said, like with the sports and with, doing all the other things, they would make fun of the people, the guys in sports would make fun of the other guys if they weren't playing sports. It's because they were jealous that they couldn't do what you were doing. And a lot of them have told me that. And if you think about it, Patch, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because they all thought, well, we're boys and we have to play sports even if they didn't want to. So they looked at someone like you who was doing what you wanted and having fun and loving life, and that's why they bullied you.
They like to call me a girly boy.
Yep. See?
Sounded like a compliment.
I love you. This is so cool. So guess what? It was a compliment, all right? We're going to take that as a compliment. So what else would you like to talk about?
What do you mean when you say I make me?
Well, I have a huge library, probably 18,000 books. No John Grisham or Danielle Steele. I take a lot of magazines. I'm a nerd. And I guess I've said weird, nerd, dweeb, dork, sissy boy. I love people, and I never had to work to get A's. And I love life and was really interested in helping other people and have enjoyed it all. I love that we grew up in the hippie period. I was called a hippie.
I love that. I always wanted to be one.
I haven't had a haircut since before most people were born. And I just, I love that life. Peace and love.
So I had beauty salons back in the day. And I used to tell all my clients, let your little boys' hair grow down to their butts or give them a mohawk. And my grandson in 4th grade, I brought him and gave him a mohawk. I didn't even tell my daughter. She cracked up laughing when she walked in. Then his hair was long. I mean, I love it all. But I used to wish I was a hippie, because I was born in 61, so I was too young in the 60s to be a hippie. But I always grew up wishing that I could have been a teenager in the 60s. I wanted to be a hippie. I love it.
Well, why not?
I didn't want to
there?
go to war. No Vietnam for me.
So, okay, wait. Talk about that now real quick.
Talk about what?
Vietnam.
Well, how is it different than racism? It was just men liking to do violence with men and winning. That looked to me like history, that wars were mostly male wars, and whoever won was the winner. And my father was in the military, died when I was 16. But before that, I never think he had a complete sentence with me.
What do you mean by that?
He was a big football player, and I wasn't interested in male talk, except MAIL.
So
What happened?
right.
He, the way Patch says it, his father changed a lot. He fought in World War II and then Korea. And Korea really changed Patch's father to where he was the silent type who just come home, watch TV, smoke, and then get up the next day and go back to the base. So yeah, effectively during the Korean War, Patch just had his older brother and his mom.
You know, we can't even imagine what your dad went through. You know, we only hear stories.
And anyone is free to refuse. I refuse the military.
But I didn't know, wait, 1 second, real quick about that, and then you can talk, Derek. I didn't know always they were able to refuse Vietnam War and everything. I mean, no.
Well, I'm not saying the government agreed.
Okay,
I'm saying I had the right to refuse.
okay.
And not very many men took that right.
Gotcha.
So, Patch, were you ever drafted?
Well, I think everybody knew I would have nothing to do with any war or violence. And then my dad died when I was 16, and we moved back to the U.S. after having lived on an army base in Germany for 7 years. And so much was happening in the civil rights movement that captured my spirit.
You know, I want to share something with you. I have a lot of the same beliefs as you, to the point of even a little more insane. Our constitutional rights. So I don't believe in vaccines. But I don't believe that we should have to do anything we don't want to do. And if someone wants to do it, that's fine, and right? Well, they were trying to take our rights away from us. My grandson is 23, and I got papers back in the day. He's never been vaccinated. My granddaughter's 8, never been vaccinated. They were trying to change that in the Constitution, and I protested with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in Trenton, New Jersey, actually with one of my producers who's here, Ruben, a few years. It was pre-COVID, and we won. That day we won, and they're still trying to change it, that we don't have our rights. So I agree with you 100%. We should all have our rights to make decisions about anything and everything that has to do with us. And that's a big part of the problem with what's going on today. They're trying to take our rights away from us with everything. So I commend you, because what you did back then to now, you know, I can't even imagine.
I just thought I was being a normal, healthy person who chose to do what he wanted to do. I was very happy that the hippie movement came along. Peace and love, let your hair grow, and have fun.
I
I'm
love
reminded
that.
of George Carlin.
What's
And
sweetie?
I'm reminded of George Carlin, and I know I will misquote him, but he said something to the effect of, you may think you have rights, but what you have are privileges that the government can take away.
Yes. And we've learned that, haven't we? Through all this COVID stuff, I mean, we've learned that the hard way. When I was in Russia, I was there in the 80s, and it was still communist. And a little silly story broke my heart. We weren't allowed to talk to the Russians. We were only allowed to talk to the Russian person who was our tour guide, and she was best friends with the American tour guide. She was the only one we were allowed to talk to. They put us in a hotel where there were no Russians, and blah, blah, blah. So next thing you know, I'm out at the church, looking at the church. They have a guard with guns up there. They wouldn't let anybody in the church. And I see a little family sitting on a park bench. It was the grandmother, her daughter, and her daughter's 2 little kids. So one was like 3 and one was an infant in her arms. So I went up to them, and I'm like hugging them and showing them pictures of my 5-year-old at the time. And the younger mom takes out plastic earrings from her ears and puts them in my hand and says, "For you, baby." And I still have them. And I took little diamond studs out of my ears and I put them in her hand and I said, "For you, baby." The guard, the sweeper, KGB, came running at us, grabbed the diamond earrings, threw them back in my hand, pointed a gun at me and said, "Go," and then screamed at them. And that was my first realization of what these poor people had to live with, of not having freedom. As I grew up, of course, and what you just said is absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. You know, I don't believe we have the freedom we always thought we did. And now Look at what's happening in this world, right? So, you know what we need, Patch? We need the hippie movement to come back, right?
Some of us didn't leave.
Some of us didn't leave. I love your hair. Okay? We need the hippie movement now more than ever.
Well, why wait?
Let's do it. So, we have about 15 more minutes if you'd like to still talk, but whatever you want to talk and share with people, Patch, the mic is yours.
Well, the most important thing is I'm in the 53rd year of trying to build a free hospital in West Virginia, our poorest state, for so long. And I keep a sense of humor. 80% of the promised donations never happened. And I just want people to know. I mean, if they're an American, they know how expensive healthcare is. And if they want to help it we are a tax exempt, a 501c3 organization, and one can make a donation there and get credit for it. I got a $5 donation today from a guy who periodically sends a $5 donation, and it's not going to build a hospital, but enough of them would.
Right.
And I just, we have 312 acres in Pocahontas County, West Virginia, with 3 waterfalls, a 4-acre lake, a mountain of hardwood trees. It's paradise, and that's where we want to build our hospital. Whee!
So now, tell us a little bit about what's going to happen if that ever happens. You get to build this hospital. So it's for anyone, any ages, and with mental health issues mostly?
Yes, I mean, the truth is I've never given a psychiatric diagnosis or medication. I don't believe in them.
Okay.
And if we had a doctor that did prescribe them, we wouldn't fire them. And they could hear our discussion about it, that I'd like people to know they can make their own mental health. And to help guide them on that path if they would like it. And we're really interested in acupuncture and homeopathy and naturopathy and chiropractic and Ayurvedic and anthroposophic wellness care. And yeah, I've massaged most of my patients.
Yep.
And I just think it's fun trying.
I agree with everything you've just said. I'm a vegan. I've been a vegan for over 30 years. I haven't taken a drug in over 30 years. I haven't really been to a doctor in over 30 years. I do massages, I do, saunas, I do all that. And everything I eat is organic. I do my best. So 90% of my food is clean, and I've gotten so many patients off of their drugs because doctors just prescribe and prescribe and prescribe, and it's going to help this one thing here and give you 10 other issues. And people just don't, unfortunately, what I've learned, Patch, is that a lot of people don't want to make the efforts. They would rather take that pill. You don't know how many times I've said, okay, I'm going to share something with you. I've actually said, and this is more than once that I'm going to tell you about this. I've actually said to people, well, I can put you on this supplement, this vitamin, this whatever, this herb. Oh, well, what side effects does it have? I said, you're on 3 friggin' medications. You take 7 pills a day, and you're asking me what side effects these herbs have? So they don't want to make the effort, a lot of people. And a lot of poor people, unfortunately, don't know the truth. And that's who I hope you and I can get through to. But what you're doing is incredible. I mean,
Please send us people.
Amazing.
Send people to help us build.
So we're going to put this show out everywhere. This is going to be on iHeartRadio next week. It's on Hamilton Radio. It's on my YouTube channel. It's going to be all over Facebook. I'm going to share it everywhere. Okay? And I will send you, Derek, the iHeart link for when the audio will be on iHeart next week, okay? Because I do a bunch of them, so I'll figure out what night and time this one will be on, and then you'll get that link. Okay? So, Patch, I want you to give people some encouragement. Give them a few words of encouragement. If they're feeling like go ahead.
Well, I mean, the first one I'd give is really love each other as a couple. Don't ever try to boss the other one. And if you're going to have kids, be equal with them and playful with them and not so bossy. And that's one thing I'd recommend. I certainly would recommend a health program, exercise, diet, and make friends and don't BS a friend. And love life. I mean, the mayfly lives 12 hours. Ha. I'm in my 79th year.
All right.
So I've seen a lot of mayflies come and go. And I think it's really important on who you pair up with, never to want to be their boss. Be their playmate and their love monster.
And what do you say to people who have depression?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I know that was labeled me in my teen years when I was struggling with life. I think it's just a hell of a lot easier for a doctor to give a pill for depression than try to get close to them as a human being. A lot of people are not living who they are. They're not even examining who they are to find out what they would be or could be. And so, isn't it amazing that there is depression in a world with 8 billion people? So if you're lonely, grab some playmates. And there's just so many ways to stimulate your life. And you can do an exercise program. I did yoga, weightlifting, and aerobics for over 50 years. And so at 79, I am one fit son of a gun. And, stimulate yourself. I've almost never watched TV. I've done a huge amount of rock and roll dancing. I love to rock and roll.
Okay.
Play, have costumes. I recommend non-boring clothes.
Yep.
Most wear boring clothes, or at least men. You don't have to. So relax and enjoy.
So a radical choice to be happy.
Yes.
And kind of flippant just to say, be happy. That's easy. No, it is not easy just to be happy when you're told over and over and over again about all the problems of the world. It is a radical act to be radically happy despite all the problems in the world. Be radiant. Make friends. Go outside. Actually, just go outside. Enjoy nature. Enjoy the arts. How many people take the time to enjoy either nature or arts or even call a friend up?
You're right. You're right. What about music? What's your favorite music, Patch?
Well, it's hard to say. I love Chuck Berry for rock and roll because I'm a wild rocker.
Okay.
And I love Rachmaninoff of classical music, and the huge amount of classical music I love because I love fun and singing. I love country music. And so I think all of the arts are my friend.
So, what about you, Dirk? What music do you like?
I would say that mine's kind of eclectic. Uh, some pop, some metal, um, whatever the internet thinks I want to listen to that day.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, let's mention jazz, because I forgot to say the word jazz.
Yeah.
Yes. I love
'Cause
jazz.
I loved growing up with John Coltrane and the Modern Jazz Quartet. Oh, baby.
I love it.
That Italian lady I mentioned earlier, born in Chicago, went to school at the University of Illinois, and really hasn't left. Here we are in Urbana, Illinois, the home of the University of Illinois. She has a doctorate in music, actually. And her focus in school was something at the time called new music,
Oh.
which would be atonal, atypical, just kind of out there boops and beeps. Her main advisor was someone who combined a computer with music. And we're not talking about the computer I'm looking at. I'm talking about big room-sized computers where you type in one end and out the other comes this old ream of paper with just squiggly lines.
Right.
And he would set that to music.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, we all know music is essential. Music helps people tremendously. I don't think
All the arts.
That's right. All of the arts. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing, right? And that's what people have to understand. Get involved. Don't just sit home and be depressed, and don't just sit home and think that's all you've got, because that's not. Get out and have some fun, like he's saying. Wear colorful shirts, you know what I mean? Put color into your life. I love color. And that's what I think keeps me going, too. Music and color and all that great stuff. You have to have it. So Derek, I'm going to give you the mic now. What would you like to say to people listening in closing for you?
That this project is so dear to me. There have been many a times, as Patch has said, where we've received promises. Some of them come true, and some of them don't. And we keep fighting. Our primary way of, perhaps fighting is the wrong metaphor, considering we're a peaceful organization, but a lot of what we do is humanitarian aid missions around the world. We've been going, this year alone, we've been to Ecuador, Mexico, and Morocco, and we're
Costa Rica.
going to Costa
Oh,
Rica.
wow.
We've
Okay.
gone.
Oh, we've gone to Costa Rica. I'm sorry, we're going to Morocco. We've gone to Costa Rica this year. And Patch brings 20 odd people, a lot of them never clowned before, just to discover their authentic clown self and to put themselves out there and discover or rediscover the joy of caring. As Patch would say, the oldest clown's been, 92? And the youngest was, 6
Wow.
Or 5.
or 5?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We've had projects all over. Of course, we've slowed down because of the COVID pandemic. But before there, we were going easily 6, 7 countries a year. A lot of times to Peru, Guatemala, and also before COVID was our annual trip to Moscow.
Oh, yeah.
Brought up Russia several times.
Yeah.
Patch before COVID, Patch went every single year to Moscow, and he still keeps in touch with his friends in Moscow and St. Petersburg. It's important to note, of course, that people are wonderful. We may not like governments, we may loathe, hate governments, but the people are beautiful.
The people are beautiful.
So yeah, as Pat would say, flame on.
No, the people are. The people in Russia, the ones that I snuck around and got to hug, were beautiful. I have a lot of Russian friends that are here now. The people in Germany were amazing. They were so amazing. And I have a lot of German friends here now. I mean, the people all over the world. You're not going to believe where the rudest people were. And now you're hearing it from an Italian. My dad was born and raised in Italy, and he was very proud to take me and my daughter in the 90s to Italy. They were the rudest people, my people. Okay? They were, because as soon as my dad came over and started talking the real Italian, then they were trying to be nice to us. But the American Italian, but in general, all
Northern
over
or
the
Southern?
world. All over the world, the people were amazing.
As I said, Patch's lovely partner is also from Italian descent. I
Okay.
think first generation or second generation. So I was just asking, north or south?
Oh, Naples, Avellino.
So central to south, I think.
Yeah. So very cool. Is his wife around to say hello, or did she want to say hi?
You might have seen her pass by the window and back.
Okay.
She's often very, very shy, very
Okay.
introverted, unless there's
Okay.
something she is passionate about talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, this
Okay.
is for Patch.
There you
so.
go. So, Patch, we're coming to the close of the show, and of course, I want to say thank you again. I am so truly honored to have had this time with you. Again, the movie Patch Adams, with Robin Williams, has made you famous all over the world. Everyone knows who you are and knows your story. But having to be able to say hello to you personally and sit here and talk to you is like nothing I ever thought would actually happen.
The truth is, they promised to build our hospital. They promised me and made enough to do it and didn't give me a penny and didn't answer my 5 letters.
What, the movie?
Well, it's a longer story, but
Okay.
essentially, the Patch had a handshake verbal agreement with the executives of Hollywood saying whatever money they made, they would help fund the hospital. And then with Hollywood math, they made no money, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
And the people that promised Patch the money have since, cycled out for various reasons. So,
Wow,
love-
terrible.
we are very appreciative that Patch's name is out there and that people have reached out and helped, either through clowning, or we have property in West Virginia that we were talking about. And we have very lovely volunteers there with programming and, of course, keeping up with the 300 acres. That's a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
land. But yeah, it's kind of like with what happened with Neil Schulman, Doc Hollywood. Gotta make sure to read the fine print.
So, what is the name, if this ever happens, what is the name of the hospital going to be?
It will be the Gesundheit Institute. I'm
Right,
sorry,
because what I want to say to you is this, if you Google that, it talks as if it already happened.
Well, it did already happen.
Okay.
So when we started, first 12 people lived in a communal home, and we called ourselves a hospital.
Okay.
There were no signs or no equipment that looked like a hospital, but that's when I started to spend time with patients
Okay.
and teach falling in love.
Okay.
And while we don't have a hospital, Patch still goes around and
Okay.
sees patients.
Well, thank you both for shedding light on all of this and being an open book to us and telling us what's really happening. So everybody listening, I want you to please share this show. Please try to donate. Get in touch with Derek. He gave you his info. I'm going to have him give you the info one more time. And then again, this will also be on iHeartRadio next week. Derek, give all that info one more time.
So again, if you'd like to donate, you can either go to our website, www.patchadams.org/donate. We have a big donate button on our main page there. Also, you can reach me directly, Derek, DEREK, @patchadams.org, or you can write to Patch. Patch loves your letters. Earlier in this program, Patch showed off a $5 bill that was in one of the letters. Every little bit helps. Patch's P.O. Box again is P.O. Box 307, Urbana, Illinois, 61803.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you to both of you for giving me your time. Derek, you were awesome. I appreciate you being there to help us. Patch, I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You cool hippie you. You cool hippie you, baby. All right? Everybody, the real Patch Adams. Thank you. Yay.
What an unreal one.
Um,
Dr. Marcus Welby.
The real Patch Adams. Thank you. Producer,
Thank you. Have
take
fun.
us out. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.